Hi, this is Andreia. Following two incredible seasons, I'm now back with season 3 of the Neurodiverse Voices podcast. If you're listening or watching for the first time, I am the mother to a beautiful autistic daughter with whom I learn a whole lot every day. This has been my motivation to found and host the Neurodiverse Voices podcast. So join me and my guests in this mission to raise awareness and increase understanding. Together, let's make this world one that embraces and accepts difference. Welcome to the Neurodiverse Voices podcast. Because April is Autism Acceptance Month, there is not only one, but two episodes of the Neurodiverse Voices podcast. I met these guests through one of my previous guests, Richard Lieberman, and I'm truly grateful for the connection. Talia is an award-winning coach for neurodivergent families. She encourages women from neurodivergent families who might be struggling to find their balance and direction by providing them with bespoke coaching. Her supportive, accepting, and inclusive approach help her clients realize their inherent worth. She is also a parent of neurodivergent children, and she shared all about it with me. Please welcome the second guest of April of the Neurodiverse Voices podcast, Talia Zamora. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Neurodiverse Voices podcast. Today, I bring you another special guest. She's a neurodivergent business and family coach. We connected on LinkedIn through some of my previous episode guests, and I'm very excited to have a chat with her today. Hi, Talia.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
You're very welcome. Thank you for making yourself available and for showing support for the past few months to the Neurodiverse Voices podcast. It's a pleasure. So why don't we start by you sharing your personal journey and what has led you to become a coach for neurodivergent families?
Okay, so I worked in the industry for quite a few years, and that was for a university, but also for a company doing contract work and business improvement. I struggled a bit in terms of kind of working in a big office, working with multiple people, and wanting flexibility, especially because of being a mum. My kids were going through the process of being diagnosed, but I wasn't quite sure what their needs were and what the traits meant. So I just kind of found myself going towards working for myself, and wanting that flexibility was a big part of that. And also wanting to have something that would fit me and my family and suit them, so I could be there, show up for the kids on things like sports days and assemblies and things like that, and doctor's appointments that were becoming more and more necessary. So I went into thinking, okay, having been in the business improvement, continuous improvement industry or part of business, I thought, okay, I can transfer these skills to helping other people. So that's where I started training to be a coach, came out of industry, and got myself a coach to help me to do that, and started setting up my business. It took a little while before I kind of really niched down into working with neurodivergent clients. And it was heavily focused on business to start with, until I learned more and more through parent workshops, parent support groups, being in neurodivergent communities, and realizing, so many people are going through what I've been through. They're either trying to run a business around family and the needs of their children, or they're actually neurodivergent themselves and have challenges, not actually conforming in many ways that other people do, find things really difficult, especially when you've got something like ADHD, and you need to kind of have different methods to help you to get through your working day and recognise those for yourself to be able to thrive, really. So, yeah, as the time went on, I just became more and more niche in terms of who I was working with, and then until I realised, actually, hold on a minute, everybody I'm attracting is in this world, so let's make it more official. So yeah, that's how I got to where I am. And now I'm just very passionate about working with, especially women in business, but also work with families that are actually running a business, because I work for Autism and ADHD Trust as well, and see families to help them with their home life and with challenges that they're experiencing, and also potentially with school and extended situations, social situations. So yeah, just very passionate about helping others, especially
I'm always in awe. I'm
Yeah.
always in awe of a story like this where, neurodiversity kind of, your journey is an example of that. It's kind of similar to mine, even though different. It's like when we find our passion, you just start shining, and I totally relate when you say that helping others is at the heart of everything you do. So that's amazing. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you
Yes,
for sharing.
once you've probably experienced it yourself, it's like once you've been through certain things yourself, you want to save people the agony in some ways and help them to recognise they can do it a bit differently, that it doesn't have to be so hard. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed being able to help people to avoid the certain challenges, make it easier.
Yeah, that's great. And Talia, your coaching is described as being non-judgmental. Can you elaborate a bit more on your methodology and how you tailor your services to meet the unique needs of neurodivergent women?
Well, firstly, I like to understand their differences, what they've been through, and have a bit of a background and find out what their skill set is, and so we can nurture those skills. I think some people try and push themselves to do things that aren't necessarily they're naturally good at, which then kind of lowers your self-worth a bit. So I like to work with people to boost their confidence and their self-worth and understand their own value. So what you might think, you might picture business coaching as such as, being hard and fast and action set. To me, I try and work with the person and their individual skills. So it's like a holistic approach, because it's also about the family dynamics and the lifestyle, and finding kind of harmony between them all, if it's at all possible. And then working on what they're really good at and making the most of those things, and then identifying maybe where they might need help outside. So, for instance, if you're not good at accounts, I definitely recommend you get an accountant, for instance. And if building a website doesn't come naturally to you, then I recommend that, where so many people will think, I've got to do all of this myself, and I've got to juggle it all, and I've got to show up and run everything. Whereas actually, it's not always realistic. It's not always something that comes naturally and then can burn you out when actually you're not doing the things that you really want to do. You're spending time elsewhere. So I want to help avoiding that burnout and exhaustion, and keep the joy,
Yeah, I'm learning something already. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And how do the sessions? What do the sessions consist of, or is there a process? So is it? I'm guessing talking sessions, or do you do any exercises? Do you apply any specific therapies or methods?
So they're one-to-one, and they tend to be about an hour, the sessions, and I recommend block bookings so that we can work over time, because you can't do everything literally overnight. And I go to the pace of the person and what's realistic for them, especially taking into account their own commitments at home and family things. So it kind of depends on them, but it's also making sure that it's really, really realistic. So I've had people that have only got 1 or 2 days a week where they can run their business. So you've got to bear in mind there's only certain things that you can do consistently to make sure that it works. So yeah, and then we do have little actions, but they're very minor, little strategies that we build. And then also I incorporate work on your mindset and making sure that you are thinking in the right way, believing in yourself, understanding your skill set, so that actually they're not going away catastrophizing in their head and worrying that they can't do it and it's not achievable. So it's all about boosting them to a level that it's going to work for them.
Yeah, that sounds really, really good. And I will add your websites, the link to your website on the episode upload.
Thank you.
So you've mentioned that you chose this career to have more time for the children. So what I'm interested to know now, as a mother of 2 neurodivergent children and with your career, how do you balance both your professional and personal responsibilities?
So this is something that somebody asked me recently about balance. And I often talk about balance and finding the right balance, having boundaries set, not burning out, giving yourself time for self-care. And then I reflected on it recently and thought, honestly, does balance exist? And I just thought, all this talk about balance, and we're convinced that we need to find it. So I think it's, and what I do practice and have done and not really identified before, is just being in the moment and making the most of the time that you've got, and not necessarily pushing or expecting too much of yourself, and doing what's realistic. So I would, through having a conversation with somebody recently, I felt like actually creating momentum and instead of balance is a bit more realistic, and making sure I feel good about what I'm doing and I don't push myself to exhaustion. So hopefully that answers your question.
It does. I'm thinking a bit about myself, and that's a good point, because one of my mottos in life is actually balance is key. But sometimes, especially lately, it's very difficult to find it, especially when I'm in hyper-focus mode on doing something that I just, I will not leave my desk, for example, until it's done. Or if it's cleaning, it can take 6-7 hours, but I'm committed and I'm not going to stop until it's done. So yeah, I think maybe I need to start finding more the momentum than the balance.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, isn't it, that we kind of pick up from other people. Oh, it's the word of the day type thing. Everybody talks about finding balance, but it maybe just recently reflecting and thinking, no, actually, really, is there such a thing? And maybe we're trying to obsess over it too much, and maybe we just need to be taking care of ourselves in a different way and being sure to not push ourselves too far.
Yeah, that's a good point. And if you're enjoying what you're doing, if it's making you happy, it doesn't really matter if you spend 1 hour or 2 or 3. What matters is the moment. So that's a good point. Something else that I learned today. So, in terms of your coaching, what are some of the common challenges that you see women facing?
In terms of women and parents in general with kids with neurodivergent needs, I think a big part of it, and this is something that I'm quite passionate about, is that's those societal norms that we try and adhere to. And what I mean by that is like sending your kids to clubs after school, pushing them to get their spelling tests done and being able to do that, pushing them to maybe read, making sure that they get their swimming levels and get their certificates, going to parties that are really loud and noisy and that they feel scared to walk in the door, doing all these things. As parents, we're kind of copying what everybody else is doing, which is normal, like most parents do, and it's completely normal to do what other people do. I remember starting swimming with my youngest when he was like 8 weeks because everybody else was doing it in my group. So, well, I need to do that too. You don't necessarily stop and think, oh, is this right for me and my family and my child? We're just going with what everybody else does. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges, to then stop and take a look and step back and think, actually, what's right for me and my family? You know, what is it that maybe we need to do, instead of, like, people say, oh, what are you doing on the weekend? And you feel that pressure of, oh, we're going to a party and we're going for a walk and we're going out for a meal and we're, you're packing your weekends in. When actually it's okay to say, you know what, we're having a relaxed weekend and we're not doing anything with the kids. And I don't know, I find that grandparents and extended family can be like, oh, not taking them out. It's not good for them to sit around the house all day. But actually, they need to regulate and they need a bit of space and a bit of time to themselves. And it's okay. It's okay to do that. And it's just the same with things like the needs and sensory needs of a child and how they can react to be triggered and have meltdowns, and that happens in public, and that can be really difficult for a parent, but also difficult for an adult that is going through their own triggers when they're out and about, and being able to mask it and cope with outside situations which weren't necessarily expecting. I think that's a big part of those challenges, is trying to fit into society.
Yeah, and I relate to that so much, not only as a mom, but as a woman. I think with the swimming, my daughter started recently swimming sessions with the school, but we keep taking her because she loves it, because she's a water.
Oh, that's lovely.
She's a water girl. She's our little mermaid. She can be in the water all the time. But yeah, thinking about my ideal of daughter, before knowing she was autistic and all of that, I would be doing a lot of more stuff with her, because it's how we grew up. You are absolutely right. We tend to do what others do, and that shouldn't be the case. And I find myself, especially in the past year, I am a people's person, and I love going out and I love seeing my friends, but I'm a lot more controlled these days. And I understand now that staying home, chilling, even though I don't chill at home, I do have that problem, but staying home and let her at least, be in her safe environment with her toys, doing what she needs to be her happy little self, it works. And we don't need to be on the move and on the go constantly.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Yeah, it's good advice you're giving, definitely. And how do you help them? Well, I guess that's the answer. You kind of advise them to not to go with what everyone else does. But is there anything else that you provide them in terms of help on addressing these challenges?
Through that process, I help them to identify and review their own family situation and what the tiny little things, and I really do mean tiny, that could be changed, even down to the type of socks that you buy your child, that and the choices that you let them have. They can be really, really small things that can make a massive difference, and helping them to realise that, and maybe helping them to realise that actually maybe karate is not right for your child, and you keep on pushing them to do it, and you know what, they'll come to finding their passions and the things that they enjoy later on in life. It doesn't have to be now. So helping them to realise that they can do things a little bit differently to suit them and their family, make things a bit easier.
And most of the times it's about the tiny little things that we just tend to skip and ignore, when they are the most important things that we can sometimes change and adjust, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. And I was serious when I said socks. It really can be what you think might be the most minorest thing, but for a sensory child, having socks with the stitching on the inside, for instance, and having to wear them every day to school and conform and fit in, that can be really dysregulating. Whereas you could buy them some socks without a seam, and that could make such a difference to their day. It can be huge.
Yeah, and I'm thinking also about the labels in clothing, because more and more there's so many labels inside. So if if we need to cut them off, we should.
Yeah, absolutely. We do that in this house a lot.
Yeah.
Labels are gone.
Yeah, we do it too. So without disclosing any personal details, of course, can you share a success story from your coaching practice that highlights a positive impact of your work?
Yeah, definitely. I've had lots of a different array of families and situations, and like I said, some are women in business that have got neurodivergence in their home or personally, and then others are families. So, and sometimes, quite often, if a family comes to me about their child, they don't necessarily see what's going on for them. So inadvertently, I think I definitely feel like I've helped families and parents with their own self-care and own support, own things that they do for themselves, which in turn, once they're taking care of themselves and they have their own realizations, whether that's that they realize they're on the spectrum themselves or whether they just realize that they need to give themselves a bit more time and have longer baths and have walks and have cups of tea and things and just give themselves moments of peace for a little while, or whether it is actually to identify their own traits. It has a big knock-on effect on how they parent and how they support their child, because it's that whole gas mask thing, the example with a aeroplane. It's making sure that you put your own gas mask on first, because you need to be in the right place to be able to support your family, whether that's young family or elderly family or extended family. So helping them can make have a huge impact. I helped a dad once who had twin kids, both with different neurodivergent needs, and he was definitely challenged by their needs, especially one of them had regular hospital appointments. They had challenges as a relationship, the twins. One was a boy and one was a girl. So there was conflicting interests and, sibling rivalry. So I helped him with that. But I also, he had what I would say was ADHD. He was on the go a lot, constantly doing things, but did have a lot of had low self-esteem as well. He had a degree, had been a university teacher years ago, but obviously his confidence had been knocked and he'd been out of work for a number of years because he was supporting his kids. And he wanted to get back into work because he wanted to support them better financially, and they were more stable than they had been previously. And just helping him to build his confidence and realise his own skill set, and that actually that he didn't need to go out and do a master's or a PhD before he could go and find a job, which is what he was alluding to. And he was waiting for the course to start. And I didn't quite understand why he's got all this experience and 2 degrees already, why he felt that he needed to study further instead of just stepping into the workplace now. So by helping him realise his worth, but also gently helping him to find volunteer work just to step back into the working world and socialising, engaging, was having a positive knock-on effect for the kids, because he was in a better place. There was less fighting in the house. He was able to be calmer with them. And also helping him with his relationship with his brother, because he was quite far removed from his brother, that when it came to getting together for Christmas and things like that, it was quite a big stress for him. So there's lots of things that came into that. And it wasn't just about having those communication skills with the kids and how to support them and what you could do at home to make things a bit better. That was a huge part of it, but actually even bigger part of it was working with him to feel better in himself so that he could support his children in a better way.
Yeah, and boosting confidence is very important, because if we are not confident, then we are not going to do a good job as parents. So yeah, that's really good to hear. Thank you for sharing, Talia. And for those parents who are just at the beginning of navigating their neurodivergence journey with their children, what advice would you offer?
I would say highly recommend that they join groups, and whether that is a Facebook group for neurodivergent parents or a in-person like support group, workshops, for instance, joining just local communities and connecting with other parents. When my kids were younger, I went to a group called Potential Kids. So there was lots of other neurodivergent kids, and it was lovely to see my children just run about and be happy and not necessarily be judged for their behaviour. Whereas as a parent with neurodivergent kids, you can take them somewhere and their behaviour isn't necessarily what people expect or want. They can maybe be a bit louder, a bit more erratic, or spontaneous and excitable. So being in a crowd where everybody was accepted was lovely. So I would really recommend that to parents, either to find other parents to connect with, or to find groups they could take their kids to. I think when you're immersed in the world of neurodivergence, you feel so much more comfortable. You can unmask yourself, and you can be a lot more honest about what's going on for you, where it can be quite difficult to share those things when you're talking to a neurotypical person that doesn't necessarily understand what the challenges are.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally relate to that. I feel like my whole perspective changed from the moment I started joining parent support groups. There's haven't been to any with my daughter, but even just meeting other parents and sharing your story, your week, your month, whatever is bothering you, and also any wins that you might have had. It's a huge help, because you realize that you're not alone.
Yeah. I love that, the wins, absolutely, because in some of the communities I'm in, when somebody says that my child did this today, my child did that today, and you get it, it's massive. Whereas if you put it in the normal world, that your child went to karate for the first time or swimming for the first time, I get the euphoria for that person, but actually on a normal level, kids do that every day, so there's not much to relate to if you haven't experienced those challenges. But it's also a little bit like when I went through a tribunal with one of my kids' EHCPs, and right at the 11th hour it got dropped, and I got the draft for the EHCP, and there's a huge amount of euphoria, but explaining that to my friends that hadn't really been through that fighting process, and the challenges and the stress that come with it, it just felt like there's a letdown kind of bit. So it's not exciting to share. But whereas if you go into a community where thousands of people you've never met before, but they understand what you're going through, and you just put it as a post, it's amazing what kind of elation people and joy people have for you, and they totally get the process and what the challenges you've been through. So I think it's vital to have those people to turn to and explain things to and connect with. But then also, in answer to your question as well, there are other charities out there, such as Sen SOS, which is a really great if you are going through any kind of legal, educational, local authority type challenges that you need support with. Locally, I've got something called Sendias, but I don't know if that's...
We do
have Sendias.
Yeah, but I haven't heard about Sen SOS. I'll have a look, and I'll link again on the episode as well.
It's similar to Sendias, but it's just another, because obviously sometimes there's long waiting lists for these things. So if you've got other options, it does really help. So yeah, I think it's definitely an advantage to be able to have that kind of support from a legal level. I work for a charity called Advance, and we also do lots of free workshops. And I think there's scattered around quite a lot of charities that support parents in different ways. We do coaching as well, but the workshops I think are really invaluable, just to be able to get the ball rolling in terms of your own knowledge. I found it quite frustrating when the GP told me to go away and do parent workshops, and I didn't quite understand or appreciate the value that they were and how much I was going to benefit from them. I just thought it was quite a patronising process about being a parent, and thought, how am I going to benefit from this? And I thought, okay, the GP's just trying to fob me off. But actually, once you start doing them, they're amazing. They're really, really, really valuable and helpful.
Yeah, I had the same thought as well, especially when we received the autism pack after the diagnosis, and the pediatrician also suggested that. But absolutely, it's very important. I don't see myself surviving without my parent support groups. And I also wanted to go back to the little things in a different context. With my daughter and her speech delay, for example, every new word, every, the first "I love you," the first "mommy," it just means the world to us. Every little step of progress. I cannot even describe the feeling. And, even though I have really amazing friends around me and family, it's not the same. It's I don't think they fully understand how exciting and how proud and how amazed I can be with a small little thing that for others might be nothing, but for me it means the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Those tiny things can make such a difference, can't they? They're lovely.
Yeah. Okay, great advice. So I'll link all of the organizations and the charity you mentioned as well, in case the audience wants to find out more. So now focusing a bit on the future, what are your aspirations for the future of your coaching practice? Are there any upcoming projects or initiatives that you would like to share?
Yeah, so definitely I'm going to continue to be helping, especially women in business, but also families. But in addition to that, this year I've been working with my own coach, thinking what else can I do and how else can I move forward on my journey, and helping people on a wider scope. So my own frustration through the school system and through the experiences with GPs still sits with me, and still feel like I want to do something about that, to break that, so it can be a different experience, especially for kids and parents. So at the moment, I've been in talks with a NHS trust local to me, but also a school local to me and a university local to me. It's quite broad. There's lots going on there, but I just thought I would try and see what happens in terms of using my connections and reaching out. And the aim for me is to build a number of workshops, potentially a series where it's all about awareness. So it's not necessarily an educational piece, but obviously you'd learn so much from it anyway. I'm no doctor or psychiatrist or any of pediatrician, but I've got a lot of lived experience, obviously experience through coaching and helping other families. So my aim is to get in front of people like the GPs, especially when they're training, to say to them, please be open-minded and accepting and supportive if somebody comes to you with these types of traits and problems and a bit of the unknown themselves, because quite often parents might go to the GP and say, my child is having meltdowns, my child won't wear certain clothes, my child won't eat certain foods, I'm having a problem, I'm not sure what to do. I should imagine there's a lot of parents out there that have had a GP saying, it's okay, it's just a period they're going through, they'll grow out of it, it's fine, instead of really listening and understanding that actually something else is going on. So that's my aim. And schools are a big part of that as well, primary schools, is to help the awareness and the understanding. But schools, there's even another level, because you've got 30 kids in your room and you've got 2 or 3 kids that are acting out. And there are some really small things that can be done in the classroom that could make a big difference. And what you do for that child can be done for everybody. So it doesn't have to be that you single that child out. The communication styles and methods that are used and tweaked can make a big difference in terms of the teaching day.
Yeah, all of that is very, very much needed in all of the different systems, because it's still far away from ideal. So this is this kind of answers the next question, which is, how do you engage with the broader community to raise awareness and support neurodivergent individuals? But besides this, are there any other projects or initiatives that you take?
So I've given myself a challenge to do a large number, I'm not even going to say what number it is, of podcasts this year, because I figured that was kind of a stepping stone to this the awareness piece that I'm feeling passionate about. But then also to have connections. And already we've had a chat prior to recording about what's going on in terms of training in your university, which is exciting. Obviously, it's not something I'm doing, but I'm excited to hear other people are doing it as well and wanting that awareness to be built. So having those connections and finding people that are on the same path or a similar path is really exciting. So doing the podcast is part of that, to build those connections and that awareness. And then LinkedIn is where I normally communicate what's going on and what I'm doing and what I'm up to. Like I'm going to the Lilac Review next week in London, and that's all about helping disabled entrepreneurs, especially with technology. So they're doing a review to how that can support, how the disabled people can be supported in work, especially entrepreneurs. So I'm getting involved in certain things so that I can educate myself, but also then build that awareness and pass on the knowledge. And I also do networking in person, because I do really, as much as it's stepping outside of my comfort zone, and I'm very happy working at home on my own, it's healthy for me to step out and see people in person as well, and connect with others. And it's amazing how many women in business out there are doing it for reasons other than are passionate about certain skill that they have, whether that's branding or accounting or web design. It's also driven by their own needs and mental health or children's needs. So yeah, it's great to connect.
That's brilliant. You are doing a lot, and that's impressive to see. Thanks for sharing all of that, Talia. So how has your work with women in neurodivergent families influenced your personal growth and your perspectives as a mother?
It's influenced it because I learn from everybody that I meet and that I'm helping and that I'm coaching, because I'm hearing their experiences. I'm learning and seeing things from a different perspective, which I really appreciate that they're sharing with me. And I enjoy being able to help them, just like I said earlier about the little things that they're struggling with. It's really, really rewarding to be able to go from 1 week to the next meeting with them and them saying, oh, my son slept for much longer hours last night and I got some sleep, and, those things that we were talking about, and that I've started adjusting how we do bedtime routines and so on and so forth, and it's working. And it's so joyful to hear that from the parents. But then on the flip side, also then them being able to have the energy to run their own business and to grow it further and to make connections and build their confidence, especially because you've had a bit more sleep and maybe introduced a bit more self-care, and they're starting to thrive in what they're doing, and finding their true passion so that they can have a bit of both, which is really, really rewarding. So that's what I want to carry on doing more of.
Yeah, it's amazing to learn from each other. We were having our chat before starting recording. That's exactly what I was saying, and that's how I feel about. Oh, my voice is going. Sorry. How I feel about the podcast is like all of my guests are very inspiring to me, and I just learn so much from them, and it's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, and it's great for your own personal growth, and for me it helps me as a mother as well, because you're learning from other people and they've done something that's worked successfully, then you think, oh, maybe I can do it that way too. And also, I'm always saying to myself that I live in my normal, but I don't actually necessarily know what normal is.
Yeah.
I often hear what people are talking about, thinking, oh, that's a neurodivergent trait. I've been living that for years and didn't know it, and I thought it was normal, but actually it's not. So the more you talk to people and understand and hear, it's so it's affirming, but it's helpful as well.
The more you understand yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a minefield, really. There's so much to learn.
Definitely. And are there any books or websites, organizations that you can suggest to neurodivergent families who are potentially seeking support?
Yeah, so I mentioned Advance earlier, and that's more local to me in Hertfordshire, but I'm sure there are others. I know that even local to me, there's another one called Space. So I would definitely recommend you find your local neurodivergent charity or ADHD autistic charity and connect with them. The local authority sometimes does things as well, so it might even be worth looking on your local council website to see what they're offering. There are so many books and podcasts. I've obviously talked about podcasts, and I found you because I started listening to more and wanting to learn more for myself. And I've stumbled across so many, one after the other. So one of them is Late Discovery podcast, which I love to listen to. That one is by Dr. Catherine Astor is the lady that does it. And I just learned so much, and I think it's really valuable to realise you're not the only one. So listening to these podcasts, that's huge, I think, is not being the only one and understanding that you don't have to hide and you can connect with others, and it's not shameful to feel the way you're feeling and experience the things that you're experiencing. So I think that's invaluable. Somebody recommended a book to me literally yesterday that I haven't read yet, but I'm really intrigued by it. It's the Neurodivergent Friendly Workbook to Mastering DST Skills. So it's not CBT, it's DBT, skills. So it's empowering yourself with practical skills and strategies is what it's the other part of the book. So I'm really intrigued because I am challenged at the moment with my kids' teenage emotions and how to deal with them and support them, and this book was recommended to me for that reason, but also I think it's probably great for all age kids and families. So as it's fresh in my mind,
thank you. With the podcasts, when I came up with the idea, was thinking as well about those parents or even neurodivergent young people and adults, everyone really, who might be at a stage where I was before, not wanting to go out because of some shame or some stigma, and giving them a platform where they can do exactly that, where they can listen and understand that they are not alone and there are other people. But if it's difficult to get out there, at least you can listen to the experience of others, and it will. I still think it doesn't replace the parent support groups and all of the networking, but it should reduce the feeling of isolation and loneliness by having you listening to the stories of other people who you can relate to.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. And if that's the first step, and then you listen to a podcast like this and realize, actually, I need to reach out and go further and go to the support groups and connect with other people and have go to workshops, then brilliant, because they're on the right track.
Yeah. Okay. And who is your biggest support in your journey?
Firstly, my husband, because we share so much, obviously, inside the house that nobody else kind of experiences, and this is our world. and that's huge. And even down to the support of coming out of industry and building my own business, that was amazing. Not to be kind of challenged on it, just to accept that that's what would work for us, for me and the family, and for him. So yeah, that's been great on the journey. But then also I've got some close friends that also have experience of neurodivergence in their family. So it's totally relatable. So yeah, those friends are fantastic for me to be able to turn to, and quite often it's like therapy, meeting up and going for a coffee or going for a walk with them. It's because they get it, and there's no judgment. And I can also gain help and support from them too. So yeah, I've got a number
Just
of friends.
being yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We all need, either a partner or a husband or a wife or
Yeah.
a best friend. It's so important that we have this. Otherwise, it's everything is a lot harder than it should be. In terms of well-being, so we talked about you managing your business and being a mother of 2 neurodivergent children. How do you manage to fit any well-being activities into your daily life?
So there's a few things that I try and do regularly. One of them is non-negotiable, which is I got a dog 3 years ago, and I did that deliberately. And I did it deliberately because I'm not particularly consistent when it comes to exercise and well-being in that sense. So the dog makes me walk every day because there's no way around it, and it also makes me get up and out and in the fresh air, rain or shine. Which is really healthy for me. I'm not the best at meditation because my mind goes 100 miles an hour. So I've just found that actually being mindful and having my own kind of walking meditation works a lot better for me. So doing that with the dog is great. But it also gives me opportunity to listen to podcasts, which I think is really helpful for my well-being too. And I try and do regular yoga. Things like family meals are really good for my well-being, being with them and having time to talk and catch up. Having business boundaries so that I don't overdo it is really important, especially because so much of it I get excited about, but I need to draw a line so that I don't burn out, which I have done a number of times before. And then also I am part of Richard's daily gratitude clubhouse. I don't know if you mentioned that when you spoke to him.
You did.
So that's something it's on every day, but I only manage to get to it about 50% of the time. But I really value it, and it's lovely to be in a community of people with a positive mindset and helping to kind of breed that and for it to develop. So having that gratitude room is really great to be in.
Yeah, you left me thinking actually, because when we talk about well-being, we think about fitness, gym, swimming, whatever fitness activity it is. And again, we are going back to the small things in life, isn't it? A simple walk. I love the fact that you mentioned the meal times with your family, because to me it's the same. If I go out for a meal with a friend, for example, or if just going out to a social situation, that actually re-energizes me a lot, and I feel completely different if I'm feeling burnout or stressed out. It just re-energizes me. So it's it just made me think about all other things that I might not think as well-being activities, but there's a lot more than
they can be
fitness.
small.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think most people do think about food as well when it's well-being and sleep and whereas obviously that comes into it, but the mental health is a big challenge. So having things that help you with that. And when I do dog walk, I often walk with friends, and that's massive. So it has such a positive effect for me. So yeah.
And you also made me think that I should potentially join the gratitude group.
Yes, come and join us.
Yeah, that might be a good idea. Okay. We'll talk about it afterwards. But I think when Richard mentioned it to me in our interview, I thought this is amazing. And yeah, I think hearing you talking about it now makes me want to join.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's people refer to it as like a muscle that you have to develop. That gratitude and that habit. And yeah, it's lovely to have a space to do that.
Yeah, because I'm often very grateful to others and to what's around me, but I'm not very grateful with myself, and sometimes not too compassionate. I'm on the contrary, I can be quite harsh on myself. So yeah, maybe that's the way to go. Yeah. And Talia, if you were a superhero or had a superpower, who or what would that be? And how would you use it to change the world, to be a better place for neurodivergent families?
So I think it's funny to name a superhero, but my first thoughts around being like a peacemaker and a healer, that kind of person.
Yeah.
Somebody that helps people. So on the peace side is acceptance and helping people to be better connected and less against each other, and all the war out there, and a bit more bringing in more love. The healer side of things is to help, not necessarily to, and because we're talking about neurodivergence, I don't mean that neurodivergence needs to be healed, but there is further issues when it comes to mental health and things within it that could be improved, and then extended beyond neurodivergence. Obviously, so many people have things like diabetes and cancer and other things, Parkinson's and so on and so forth, that to be able to have the power to help people feel better in themselves and to heal themselves or to bring peace. I think that would be a lovely skill to have.
Yeah, that's very heartwarming and and amazing. So we can. I think you are doing that already in one hand. So yeah, but we can. Maybe one day we can all become superheroes, and then it will happen. But that's a good one to wish for. And
Thank
finally, if your heart had a voice, what would it tell us?
I think it would be to be yourself, to be kind, and be happy. So I think it's a little bit, by saying be happy, some people might be like, oh, well, I can't just be happy. But I do think there is ways that you can be happy and ways that you can find them. So and be yourself, especially because in the neurodivergent world we mask a lot and we don't necessarily show up as ourselves, and we hide, we feel like an imposter. So I think that's challenging, but I think finding a way to be yourself, or in a community where you can be yourself, is valuable. Yeah, and to be kind. That talks for itself, really.
Yes, it does. And I think with the being happy, part of your coaching and what you shared today is about being realistic. Maybe if you set more realistic goals to yourself, then you can be happier. So
yes,
yeah, that's a great final message to end with. Talia, thank you so much. It has been a great conversation, and I look forward to potentially having you again next year or whenever, just to catch up and see how things are going, and we will definitely stay in touch.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Thank you. It's been great to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks. I hope that you enjoyed Talia's interview as much as I did. and that you have also learned a whole lot from her. Thank you for listening or watching the Neurodiverse Voices podcast. I will be back on Saturday, the 3rd of May, with my guest Jack Newton, who is the founder and the host of Oticast, recently renamed to Otiverse. And you will not want to miss Jack's inspiring story. I'll see you on the other side in a few weeks' time. Thank you. Bye.